everyone. So this is the execution of the third magazine reading request. I had a request for a whispered magazine reading, which I filled, and one for a gum chewing magazine reading, which I filled. So this is going to be the regular soft spoken magazine reading, which was also requested. And we are doing this with a special magazine featuring young blood on the cover. Young blood. So some of you may be aware that I am a big young blood fan. It has not been very long since I have discovered young blood, and it was through MGK that I discovered young blood, through the song they put out together, which is called I Think I'm Okay. And it all started from there. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be flipping through this magazine and just flipping through most of it, reading bits here and there, but mostly getting some good page turning in. But then the article featuring young blood, I will be reading in its entirety. So the end of the video will be some reading and not so much page turning. I thought it might be nice if you could follow along. So I have the camera here in front of me. This means I'm sitting kind of awkwardly, so any cuts in the video is me needing to move so that various body parts do not fall asleep or get cramped or anything. Okay, so this is Attitude magazine. Attitude. So, something completely different before we continue. One of you commented a long time ago that they really liked the way I usually pronounce little, because to them it is like I pronounce both T's, that's all. And I recently started taking Italian classes and have been told I have to pronounce both T's in certain words. And this attitude, double T, just reminded me of that. So I wanted to share it. Attitude. Okay, so the style issue, 42 pages of fashion-forward features. And here we have young blood, sexuality, smashing gender, and sticking it to the establishment. Okay, so I've already read the Youngblood article on my way home from London, but I have not read anything else. I have not flipped through the rest of this magazine, so I will be discovering it with you. As usual with these kinds of magazines, we start out with several pages of advertising. We have Aussie Bum here with a slogan saying, "If you doubt yourself, wear something else." Kind of like that, since I myself have been getting more into my alternative style. Okay, so here we have Youngblood with these black hearts on his middle fingers. I recently got a black heart tattoo myself. So I do not know anything about Attitude magazine. I got it because of the Youngblood feature. So I don't know what we're going to find in here. Like at all, I'm getting a certain vibe just seeing this, but don't want to jump to any conclusions. Iris Prize. International LGBTQ Film Festival. The Iris Prize returns to Cardiff between 8 and 13 October with a plethora of queer cinema from 25 countries to stir your souls, along with the largest short film prize in the world, there is surely something for everybody. In contention for the top gong is Norwegian flick Break Me, pictured, which sees a Muslim MMA fighter fall for his sparring partner despite his father's opposition. It's going to be a knockout. Okay. Now that is my kind of film. I should keep my eye out for that one. Marika Hackman. Never heard of her. Proud Together. I feel like I'm correct in the vibe I was getting from that first page. Okay, got some clothes and accessories and various items here. Let's have a look, see what I like. I like this Baroque cushion. I like me some Baroque. These are some nice boots. But that's about it that I like on that page. Brexit will undermine justice. Transgender asylum seekers are likely to face reduced rights and heightened hostility after Britain leaves the EU. Interesting. This article I should read later. The rules for dressing to kill. Say goodbye to Sandy and your sweater set. You're a bad biatch now. Restock your wardrobe with clothes that require a lubricant to slip into. Grace is the word. Oh dear. Speaking of pussies, keep your underwear drawer closed. Free ball it. Look your victim intently in the eye. Slowly uncross your legs, letting a hairy, wrinkly testicle tumble down. Then cross back over again. Femme fatale masterclass complete. Guess what, hon? Not everything goes with a chainsaw. I like this. This is all kind of, well, once lost to history. And one queen who isn't afforded the credit she deserves is Elizabeth I. A pioneer on the art of drag, maybe even the first drag superstar. Her face, neck, and hands were painted using a mixture of white lead and vinegar, eyes lined with kohl, and lips stained a striking red. The look was dramatic. You might even say deadly, because lead poisoning very possibly caused her death. How many other queens have died for their look? I actually just saw the first Graham Norton episode of the new season with RuPaul, talking about the UK version of RuPaul's Drag Race. Oh, Dawson's Creek. Gotcha Club. Jack's kiss in Dawson's Creek was something of a turning point. I remember that. Today was a day the world got smaller, darker. I grew more afraid, not of what I am, but of what I could be. I loosen my collar to take a breath. My eyes fade, and I see him, the image of perfection. His frame strong, lips smooth. I keep thinking, what am I so scared of? I wish I could escape the pain, but these thoughts invade my head. Bound to my memory, they're like shackles of guilt. Oh God, please set me free. Poetry can be found in the unlikeliest of places, and that entry, today, is a composition by fictional character Jack McPhee in the teen drama Dawson's Creek. I really used to like Dawson's Creek. Ooh, it mentions Buffy, hang on. Adults were close-minded, but young and cool characters were tolerant. Further hope came in the form of Jack's much-hyped first kiss with Ethan. Their brief snog in 2000 was the first awe in the UK, but it still marked a shift, opening the gate of fraction. A year later, Willow finally got to kiss Tara on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Possibly more interesting was the kiss that was Jack's swan song in the final episode in 2003. Juliet, her sensational new musical. Loads of songs here, like I Can girl. It's gonna be me, larger than life. Oops, I did it again. Show me love, problem, roar, teenage dream. Since you've been gone, lots of songs, not my music. Here he is. Youngblood, Dominic. So we're going to return to this later. Okay, this article is long, though I don't know if I'm going to read the whole thing. Satanic reverses. The Satanic Temple may not be what you think. Members, half of whom are LGBTQ, certainly don't perform child sacrifices, and nobody kisses the devil's arse. David McGillivray speaks to co-founder Lucian Greaves as a documentary about the group opens in the UK. It must be one of the greatest headlines of all time. Mississippi police want to arrest the Satanists who turn dead people gay. It dates from 2013, when the newly formed Satanic Temple angered that members of the hate-filled Westboro Baptist Church planned to picket the funerals of Boston Marathon bombing victims, performed a so-called pink mass over the grave of Katherine Johnston, the mother of the church's preacher Fred Phelps. This is hilarious. Satanic Temple co-founder Lucian Greaves conducted a ritual that involved two same-sex couples kissing, then Greaves himself dangling his testicles over the headstone. The pink mass is a satanic ritual performed after death that turns the deceased's straight spirit into a homo one, wrote Vice reporter Jonathan Smith with no apparent mockery. It's not unlike the Mormon practice of baptizing the dead, only gayer. Oh, this is delicious. Delicious. So this is another one I'm going to have to read later on. This is very interesting. But to be clear, the Satanists don't actually Pakistan, third gender people who identify as neither male nor female are outcasts, and as they get older, life can look bleak. But now some of them have a place to call home, as Mobeen Azhar finds out. So this is about a retirement home exclusively for members of the third gender community. The project has been 8 years in the making and opened this summer and provides accommodation, medication, and food for 40 older third gender people. It is part of a bigger project that will eventually incorporate a medical center and additional housing. The Shiny Shrimps, an outrageous comedy about a gay water polo team. The Shiny Shrimps. It's very English. Frayed Nerves, the sequel to one of the biggest horror films of recent times, It, hits UK cinemas next month and includes a gory hate crime scene left out of the 90s TV adaptation, as star Taylor Frey tells Attitude. A Mormon counselor told me that homosexuality leads to eternal damnation. I read your blog post about how you'd nearly been kicked out of BYU because someone had falsely reported you for homosexual activity with a friend. Can you explain what the honor code in many US schools is? What the actual fuck? I'm not going to read that one because it's going to piss me off. Serbia has gay rights if you're in a position of power. Serbia has an openly lesbian prime minister since 2017, but while Ana Brnabić's position seems to have given her special privileges, the same cannot be said for gay men in the country. generally this magazine is really uplifting me. I don't know if I've ever talked about this before, ever in these past, 8 years? But I have a thing with gay people. It makes me happy. I've always had it ever since I was young. I've always found gay and lesbian love more beautiful than straight love, because I always felt that it's like a more difficult path to walk and more challenging, so it's like, it's hard to explain, but it's like not the easy road. So it's more worthy somehow. Yeah, it's weird, but I've always found it to be very beautiful, and when I see like openly gay or lesbian people walking on the street, it also always puts a smile on my face, and I always have a soft spot for the LGBTQ character in a movie or TV show. It's too bad it's not a choice, because, I tried. Work out wherever you go. No, thank you. That looks very uncomfortable on like a tile floor. I can just feel that like one protruding bone in your back. I can just already feel it hurting. Possum dog beds. Gaylawyers.co.uk. Oh, that is precious. We're right here to prevent wrongs. Okay, but they're specifically for like issues of discrimination and unfair treatment towards LGBTQ citizens. Okay, that's all less for me. Children's author and illustrator Ollie Pike was drawn into the protests at Parkfield School in Birmingham and is now looking ahead to his next chapter in teaching kids about LGBTQ rights. Life Lessons, Matthew Dempsey, psychotherapist. What most men really want is to feel valued, needed, and loved. We all need the same thing. I'm sure. Wherefore art thou, Romeo, trans non-binary performer? Wow, she really looks like a tattoo artist I know. The word on the street. Blue hair. I'm jealous of anyone with blue hair. Trying to get to this part I read called Homo FOMO. Here it is. Homo FOMO. So I guess this is like things to see. Good thing my videos aren't monetized, because that right there will get you demonetized, I feel. Nipples are so scary. Homo FOMO. Okay, what can we not miss out? Queer theater, festivals, exhibitions, and more. The literary cabaret. Jonathan Harvey in conversation. The lovely trans literary salon. On the other hand, we're happy. Theater, drag, festival, Red Bull Music Festival. Okay, well, Homo FOMO was a letdown, but it's a cool name. Kind of beautiful. Not exactly my type, but still. Fashion is often a trailblazer for social progress. Is it now? And an industry where the LGBTQ community can flourish. The top jobs have, more often than not, gone to out gay men. Dean and Dan Caton, Edward Enninful, Martin Marcus, and Tom Ford, to name a few. Okay. Ooh, India Moore. Now, isn't she like the most beautiful woman ever? She's just so gorgeous. I just cannot even. It's too much. It's too much. It's gorgeous. Getting a very 90s vibe from this guy. Yeah, that's nice there. I like pretty things. I like pretty people. I used to have a folder on my computer, and it was called Pretty. I just saved pictures of beautiful people into that folder. I just saved them all, and it kind of like going back to that folder and looking through it because it's so incredibly diverse. It's like the most strange combinations of what I thought were beautiful people. I used to love collecting beautiful people in real life as well. Like, I didn't even really care what kind of person they were. Just if they were pretty, I wanted to be around them. I was an ugly teenager, like, it was bad. So that was kind of sad. That I had all of these beautiful friends, but I myself wasn't pretty at all. And what was really sad was that all of the boyfriends of my beautiful friends liked me more as a person. They would enjoy talking to me a lot more, and they would think I was funnier and smarter and just more enjoyable to hang out with. Yet nobody wanted to be my boyfriend. So, just goes to show how far personality gets you. And like that all changed around the time that I was about 17. Like at 17, I kind of grew into my nose, and yeah, it just changed. People didn't think I was ugly anymore, and so suddenly I could get all the guys, but by that time I was already so fucking jaded that I just already completely closed off, and I was never able to genuinely open up to anyone. So yeah, there's that. It's true, like I would spend the night at one of my beautiful friends' house, and her boyfriend spent the night as well. And like him and I were up all night talking. That was her boyfriend. That was the story of my teenage years. But, it's cool because at least I have a personality now. I feel like people that are beautiful and have always been beautiful are generally lacking in the personality department because they never had to be interesting. People just wanted to be around them because they were beautiful. So, I guess I wouldn't change it. It was very formative to the person I am, those ugly years. And, I'm not exaggerating. Everyone agreed. My father agrees that I was an ugly teenager. My sisters agree, my friends agree, people that care about me agree I was an ugly teenager. So it's not like I'm just exaggerating or it was a problem. So, young blood and thunder. Here we go. I'm gonna give it a good 15 minutes and we'll just see where we got. Singer Youngblood is off the Richter scale as he shakes up the status quo surrounding gender and sexuality before delivering a full-throated attack on the political regime. I love this look. Like the coat, the socks. It's like, okay. Pedestrians embarking on their coffee run on a snoozy Sunday morning on Seven Sisters Road in North London. And I have been to Seven Sisters Road so many times. One of the hotels I've stayed at several times is on Seven Sisters Road. Okay, could be forgiven for thinking that they hadn't fully woken up when confronted with the strange sight of a young man strutting about in the middle of the street wearing nothing but an unbuttoned leopard print coat and a pair of underpants, sheer panelled pants at that. Sheer? Where's the sheer? Okay, there's the sheer. Yeah. Possible explanations that may have conceivably been considered are that the mystery chap is a high-as-a-kite hipster making his way home from a Pat Butcher-themed club night out, or a musical fan living his best Jellicle life by recreating his favorite moments from that Cats movie trailer. Perhaps even a lone protester taking a stand for folk who have a legitimate fear of walking on pavements. But no, this wild-haired traffic-stopping tyke is Singer Youngblood, aka Dominic Harrison, doing what he does best, turning heads, demanding attention, and disrupting the norm. I fucking loved that, or as he would say, I fucking loved that. He declares loudly in a South Yorkshire accent, throwing himself down into a waiting chair back at the studio, mouth cracking into a wide Tasmanian devil-style grin. Channeling the anarchic spirit of the Sex Pistols, the swagger and heavy pout of Mick Jagger, and the spunky eye of Green Day frontman Billy Joe Armstrong, the 22-year-old from Doncaster lights a fire under today's Gen Z youth, LGBTQ included, attracting more than 10 million Spotify listeners a month with his call-to-action anthems targeting everything from prescription drugs to America's pretty much non-existent gun control laws. Like all the best rebels, Dom pushes, leapfrogs, or bulldozes boundaries altogether. This extends to his screw gender stereotypes fashion sense, making him a perfect cover star for our latest style issue. He loves wearing dresses and looks damn good in them. Then there's his wide-open attitude towards sexuality. Currently dating American pop star Halsey, who identifies as bisexual, he hints at having experimented with boys in the past and believes in going with the flow when it comes to the fluidity of sex and relationships. Dom, who released his incendiary debut album 21st Century Liability last year, also has a potty mouth on him. If I'd placed a swear jar on the table at the beginning of the interview, I'm confident I would have cleared my hefty overdraft 10 minutes into our chat. Oh well, next time. Perched at a makeshift table for two in the studio's junkyard-style garden, hands clasped, fingernails speckled with black varnish, Dom says he's been an outsider, going against the grain ever since he can remember. Growing up in a very industrial part of the country, he never saw himself in his surroundings and found solace in a musical diet of My Chemical Romance, Lady Gaga, and Marilyn Manson, artists who proclaimed it was okay to be different. They made me feel as if it was all right to be who I am. I would see Gerard Way in his eyeliner, Gaga in her fucking glitter ball dress, and Manson in whatever the fuck Manson was wearing. It was like, that's what my brain tells me to do, but the things around me don't. Not one to race to catch up with the rest of the herd, Dom defied the conventions of what boys and girls should wear from an early age. I was obsessed with Kurt Cobain and saw this picture of him in a floral dress, he recalls. I was in junior school, so about 10 years old, and our school disco was coming up. I said to my mom, I want to paint my nails and straighten my hair. I'll never forget the smell of the hair protector. Your groomer's Sven put it on earlier and it took me right back there. Anyway, I went into school and they just couldn't fathom what was going on. When I talk about older generations suppressing me, it wasn't my mom and my dad. It was leaders, people such as teachers or MPs, people who expect you to conform within the lines of their authority, because if they don't have their authority, then what have they got? Championing individuality and freedom of expression, Dom's wardrobe is a huge one-finger salute to the limits of conformity and what society expects, nay, demands of us. That's why I fucking wear a dress on stage. We've been brought up with such boundaries. Woman wears dress, man sees woman's curves. You can make baby. Western civilization put women in dresses and men in trousers. Before that, in medieval times, every fucker wore a dress. Dom adds, I wake up one day and I want to look girly as fuck, and I'll wake up the next and walk out of the house in a Fred Perry polo shirt looking like I'll beat the shit out of you. I'll be Anita from West Side Story, then suddenly transform into Liam Gallagher. He chuckles before briefly bursting into song. I like to be in America. You fucking want some? Dom applies that same rip up the rule book mantra to the subject of sexuality. He has been going out with Halsey, a huge advocate for the bi community, since the beginning of the year, but accepts the spectrum is more a gloriously messy pulp than something that can be split into neat little sections like segments of a Satsuma. I was having a conversation with my girlfriend the other night. Everyone knows she's totally bisexual, out and out fucking bisexual, and is a massive voice for that community. And we were having such an interesting chat. This is what we fucking do. Sit up until 4 a.m. talking about politics in our fucking underwear while tie-dyeing clothes. That's our relationship. He smiles. She brought up such an interesting point about how it doesn't matter. When people try to get their heads around it, there's nothing really to get your head around because we're just fucking attracted to people. If I fell in love with a trans person, it's just the way it is. It's on a deeper level. It doesn't matter what you've got. It's not about having a dick or a pussy. Dom reveals that his sister recently came out as bi. She was stressing about telling my parents, and she rang me because obviously I'm like, be what you want to be. If you believe you're an ostrich, cool. My mom was totally fine with it, but with her generation, there still is that thing of, well, I wouldn't have fucking chosen that for you, but that's just what you are. That's a battle I have with my mom. She loves my sister for who she is. It's just there is this ideology that was placed on her like a fucking helmet. As for putting a label on his own sexuality, Dom stresses that while he adores Halsey, none of us know what the future holds when it comes to love. I am more straight. I'm very happy in my relationship with my girlfriend. I'm pretty in love, to be honest. She's a total babe. But if I hadn't met her and I walked down the street and met a fucking bloke tomorrow or a trans person, you never know. It's about connection. I'm very fluid about it. Regularly waving the rainbow flag at his gigs, Dom is a vocal ally, but didn't realize he had such a massive LGBTQ following until the end of last year. Everything blew up in December. I started seeing the flags, this array of colors, and it became more and more apparent. I've always been an activist for it. Just be yourself, no matter what you are. It's not me doing it for likes or to be trendy. Bombarded with private social media messages, he tries to spend half an hour to an hour each day replying. But I don't have all the answers, because I'm just as fucking confused as you are. Nonetheless, he singles out a particularly poignant encounter with a male fan after a performance of his track Polygraph Eyes, which delves into the issue of sexual consent and rape culture. I look out into the crowd every night after singing the song, and there are so many girls crying. But I had such an interesting experience the other day in Arizona, where a boy came up and spoke to me after the show. He told me he was bisexual and that he had been sexually assaulted. The internal battle that's now going on in his head is, if I sleep with a man, I feel triggered by the experience. To have this boy come up and open his soul like that, it just made me go, this is why I do this. I suggest to Dom that LGBTQ youngsters in particular can relate to him because he is such an open book about his own struggles with identity, as well as with anxiety and depression. I moved to London and contemplated suicide for 6 months, he reflects. I was 16 and went to art school to get away from the north, which was very suppressive. I had the best friends in the world there, but if I wore skinny jeans and a crop top, I was called a poof. I thought, nah, I'm not into this. I came to London to be liberated, to be able to paint my nails, to fucking try sex with a guy, to try everything, to fulfill my fantasies and figure out who I am. Ultimately, it was a massive journey to being uncomfortable in myself. But in that journey, I got more confused. Art school was almost paint by numbers, this is how you should create. Creation was liberation for me, but when creation became science and maths, I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? The only thing that had no boundaries was having boundaries placed upon it, and I got smaller and smaller. I hated it. So I left school and ended up in the West End in Bugsy Malone. I wanted to be a musician, so I was a little unfulfilled, but I was having fun and I had an outlet. In terms of his mental health at the moment, Dom accepts that there is no such thing as a quick fix, and he deals with his demons on a daily basis. The difference being that he now knows how to combat them. I have to get talked off the ledge 10 times a day, but I know who I am now, he assures me. There's always the dark part in everyone's brain. You wake up in the morning, you've got a knot in your stomach and you don't know why. But you just have to tell yourself that it's fine. Breathe. Go for a walk. Make love to your girlfriend or boyfriend. Anything that will make it better. I mentioned that I went through a period of self-harming when I was younger. I was very close to it. A member of my family did it. There's a scar on my hand from trying to stop her hurting herself, Dom says, showing it to me. It wasn't that for me. It was about getting blazed and fucked up. Then I'd sit in my room and cry my fucking eyes out. Highlighting the importance of having some sort of coping mechanism, he urges anybody who is struggling to put pen to paper and write down what they're feeling. It doesn't matter if you're not a poet. If I can't sleep, I just write what I'm thinking, even if it's, I feel like shit 150 times. Bang, it gets out. Okay. There's a bit more, but I'm going to leave it at that. Because this video is long enough. I'm going to leave you here on this lovely image of Dom in a dress. He toured in this dress for a long time. His current tour outfit is different though, but there's still a skirt. I've seen pictures of him in pants as well as in a skirt, so I don't know if he changes like during the performance or if he switches it up night to night. I am curious on what I will be getting to see at the end of October when he has a gig in Belgium. So I'm 100% sure I will have offended some people with this video somehow, but that's okay. I hope I put more people to sleep than that I've offended. So that was the last of the magazine reading whispers, not whispers, videos, I guess, magazine reading requests. If you want